I'm going to take a bit of a detour. My colleague Ashwin Mohan in conversation with Koushik Chatterjee, ED and CFO, Tata Steel.
Thanks for that, Avan. And we're joined by a very special guest who's going to speak to us about the impact of the Tata Steel-ThyssenKrupp deal. Joining us straight from Europe is Mr. Koushik Chatterjee. Mr. Chatterjee, thanks so much for taking our time and speaking to ET now. This is clearly one of the biggest deals that has been struck in the European sector post the buyout of Arcelor by Mittal and of course post the Tata Chorus deal. How important is this deal, sir, from the point of view of Tata Steel's revival of its European business, and how big a milestone is this for you?
I think this is a very important collaboration in the steel space as far as Europe is concerned, because it is a combination of the number 2 and number 3 to form a very strong number 2 by size. And I think we have a structurally very robust enterprise because we have very strong asset footprint. This JV is about collaboration to strive for better technology leadership, focus on quality, serve the markets better, create value for customers, shareholders, and other stakeholders. So I think this is one in a lifetime transaction as far as the European steel industry is concerned, because it really changes the dynamics of the industry in Europe.
Right. Mr. Chatterjee, you know, this JV will result in the deconsolidation of Tata Steel Europe from the Tata Steel Group balance sheet. It will also facilitate deleveraging. How much debt will be transferred to the JV, sir? And how much more stronger will the balance sheet of Tata Steel look post the consummation of this deal?
So once the JV is formed, about 2.5 billion euros, roughly about 20,000 crores of debt will be deconsolidated, and about 1,000 crores of interest will be saved from the Tata Steel earnings financial statements. And obviously this makes a very significant impact because on one hand, we are creating a very robust enterprise in Europe with the right attributes to be sustainable and competitive. On the other hand, Tata Steel financials and the balance sheet gets the required space to continue its focus on the stated goal of growing in India, which is our home base.
Mr. Chatterjee, with the signing of this deal, Tata Steel has transformed into an investor from an owner of the European steel business. Many analysts believe that this move, this 50-50 JV, will de-risk Tata Steel from the vagaries of the entire steel business. Do you concur?
So I wouldn't concur that we are moving from an owner to an investor. I think we have moved from 100% ownership of a configuration into a 50% ownership of a much more stronger, resilient and larger enterprise. The business would certainly have a joint ownership between us and ThyssenKrupp. But certainly by the very nature of the asset footprint and the quality of the businesses, this would certainly significantly reduce the risk or volatility for Tata Steel.
Many analysts believe that Tata Steel Europe had underperformed in the past few quarters, and of course we are all aware of the kind of extreme pressure that came in from certain activist shareholders of ThyssenKrupp who wanted ThyssenKrupp to extract a better deal, get a better valuation. Give us a sense of how did you deal with these issues, because it's taken some time for the deal to move from the signing of the memorandum of understanding to the definitive agreement. So give us a sense of how you tackled these fears of activist shareholders, and eventually are you happy with the valuations that the deal has finally been struck with?
So I think you have multiple questions on this one. The first answer is, as far as the time taken in a geography like Europe, when you do get into a complex, very complex transaction of this nature, one has to go through engagement of multi-stakeholders in multiple geographies at the same time, which is required under practice and law. And therefore, we had to engage with stakeholders, including works councils, unions, and supervisory boards of relevant entities. and that takes a fair bit of time, and that also ensures that the process followed in the crafting of the joint venture is strong and robust, and we have concluded on all of them successfully, and all stakeholders are happy, as you would have seen from some of the press reports. As far as the shareholder pressure is concerned, it is actually an internal matter of ThyssenKrupp, and I think I would only say that the industrial logic and the rationale for the JV is very strong, and it has the potential to create significant value for shareholders and stakeholders in the future. And this consolidation will certainly ensure that the stakeholders get into a more sustainable business in Europe. And I'm sure with the kind of robustness and financial performance, we would certainly be able to reward the shareholders. And as far as valuation is concerned, valuation of any enterprise cannot be judged from a few quarters. And this is a structural valuation, and therefore, I think from our perspective, and I would certainly imagine from everyone else's perspective, this is a fair valuation that has been arrived at.
Right. Mr. Chatterjee, as part of the deal terms of the JV, there will also be an issue of warrants equivalent to 10% of the equity capital of ThyssenKrupp. But that's, of course, subject to a potential IPO. Even the timing of the IPO will be decided by ThyssenKrupp. And, of course, ThyssenKrupp will have a greater share of the economic rights as well, if and when there is a decision taken at a later stage to go ahead with an IPO. Were these sweeteners included to assuage the concerns of the activist shareholders, and perhaps that's why it took a time of 9 months to move from the memorandum of understanding to definitive agreement, sir?
No. So I think, as I said, that the stakeholder consultation process is a long-drawn process, and that's we've gone through it one by one in sequence and sometimes in parallel, and that's been one of the main reasons. As far as the warrants are concerned, they are, as you rightly said, triggered on an IPO, and the market will pay for it.
Mr. Chatterjee, what do you make of the current situation of the steel sector in Europe? Many of the steel stocks, including the likes of ThyssenKrupp, have sort of underperformed of late because of the threat of a trade war. So, how do you look at the situation wherein you have signed such a big JV with a very serious and formidable European player at a time when there are serious risks of a trade war?
No, I think the steel fundamentally looks at its domestic market wherever you look at it, whether it is in India or whether it's in Europe. So if the underlying economies in the domestic environment are strong, which is the case in Europe just now, I think we have less issues to worry. I think the trade war sometimes is being hyped up a bit more than what is there in reality. There is obviously a risk and a concern because we've entered, I think, on an irrevocable basis, a global arena. But I think so long as the underlying economies in Europe are doing well, as you can see from the current spreads and the demand, that's less of a worry at this point of time. Businesses are meant to deal with risks on trade regulations, and it is important that all organizations have the capability to navigate through these uncertainties.
Chatterjee, before I let you go, you spoke about the fact that a lot of debt will be transferred to the ThyssenKrupp Tata Steel JV as part of this deal. But on the other hand, there are a few analysts who are concerned about how you will fund the buyout of Bhushan Steel. If you could quickly throw some light on the funding over there, sir.
So I think Bhushan Steel has been very prudently funded already, and of the consideration, 18,000 crores have been put in from an equity perspective, which includes the part which we've raised through the rights issue, which was supported overwhelmingly by the shareholders of Tata Steel, and we've put about 16,500 crores of debt. And if I look at the Bhushan asset, the capability, the downstream mix, the cost position, and the proximate synergies with Tata Steel's Kalinganagar and Jamshedpur, I think we have the level of debt is very incremental compared to the incremental EBITDA that will come from Bhushan Steel. So I don't see any cause of worry at all on the Bhushan Steel financing, which has been very prudently structured.
Thank you so much, Mr. Koushik Chatterjee, for taking out time and helping us understand the various aspects of this precedent-setting landmark deal that Tata Steel has struck with ThyssenKrupp, and all the best to you for the coming quarters, sir.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. Thank you.
With that, Avan, I toss it back to you. The biggest and most important corporate voices on the biggest deals speak first to ET now. This is just one other example. Back to you.
Absolutely, I can imagine there must be a lot of cheering in the newsroom. The biggest voice, the man of the moment, if you will, Koushik Chatterjee, speaking exclusively to the channel, talking about the risk volatility for Tata Steel reducing, saying that the trade war is being hyped up a bit more than reality, and that the joint venture, most importantly, will reward shareholders on a sustainable basis. On that note, we're completely out of time. We've had to cut short our GST special. Thanks for watching.